My name's Adam Goodrich, and I run a company. Well, I founded a company called Procedural Worlds. I have another company called Metaverse. And I guess you could call me an entrepreneur. I specialize in 3D content creation tools and also content distribution for the Metaverse.
Well, I'm going to start asking you, what first and foremost is, what is the Metaverse? I should say, firstly, welcome, Adam, and thanks for joining us. So what is the Metaverse?
The Metaverse, it's an interesting thing. What is the Metaverse? Because there are so many definitions of it. I look at the Metaverse, or the thing that's come to me in terms of what the Metaverse is it's a connected social experience of some type. Another way of defining the Metaverse is that it's some sort of virtual environment or virtual experience or virtual world. And the Metaverse is this collection of all of these things that are starting to be developed.
So it's technological numpty that I am. Let's take that a step further if I can. If I said to you, Adam, I want to do something in the Metaverse, what is it that you do for me in my company?
All right. So I guess if we were to help you out bringing a Metaverse experience to your business, then we have two parts of the same pie. So the background you can see there is something we've made with Procedural Worlds. So we have a team of people and a bunch of tools that are very, very good at making beautiful, high quality, high performing virtual environments. That's the space in which you host your experience. Then the other side of the coin is MetaWorlds, and that is a bunch of technology that makes it relatively easy and quick to create the virtual experiences that you want to have inside of your MetaWorld. That could be anything from integrating something like Shopify so you can do shopping. It could be customized experiences for education or events. So the other part of our business is we have the skills and the team that would actually help you to create that specific Metaverse experience for your customers.
Okay, so and is it? Probably should have asked to start with. Who is your core customer? Who's your target market?
Yeah. So for Procedural Worlds, this company's been going. We launched our first product in 2015, and it's been creating worlds in the Unity Asset Store. It went pretty much straight to the top of the Unity Asset Store. The Asset Store is a marketplace for people who build environments in Unity. So a customer there is largely indies and hobbyist developers who are creating games, but we also have high-end customers. So the AAA studios, BMWs and Googles and companies like that also use our tools. So it's a large range of tools, but Procedural Worlds, is, damn it, we'll edit that bit. So Procedural Worlds, has this large range of customers, but they're typically indie. MetaWorlds, the target audience initially is actually more enterprise and business. So these are organizations that have money, they know they want to connect in a new way and create new opportunities and experiences with their customers. And so that target audience is more, it's an audience that has a business need that thinks that a Metaverse experience could help them with.
So can you give me an example? Is it something like, defense? I'm soldier related here. So would it be a live environment? You could practice defense. Is it a driving experience in BMW? What's an example?
So we worked with a big studio called wargaming.net. We helped them to ingest real-world mapping and turn that into a stylized 3D world in which they were making a game. For BMW, it was a really interesting project where we took data being delivered to an Oculus Go. So we created a virtual experience for the back of the car. The idea is with the future.
So the Oculus Go is something you put on your face.
It's the VR headset. Yeah. And the idea there was the future of mobility means you won't have to drive your car. So what are you going to do? And the way BMW thinks about this is mobility starts from before you leave your home to after you get home. So we created a system that recreated a virtual version of the environment you were driving through and a little multiplayer game that ran inside this VR headset. So yeah, all sorts of different things. And defence use our stuff for creating environments to communicate defence scenarios, educate. US Navy SEALs use our stuff to create training in VR. We have all sorts of different people using our stuff.
Okay, so it could very well be used as a training aid in all sorts of environments. Okay,
yeah,
thank you. I'm starting to understand a bit more. Thank you. So listen, we've just come out of the pandemic. Of all the actions that I'm assuming you've probably got a virtual team, my assumption. But what are some of the things that you did in the pandemic that remain in your business today?
So once upon a time I ran a digital agency, and we had a 3 stories in Surrey Hills, and I really despise going to and from the city every day. So I decided from that point on, after we sold that business, that I would never again work in an office if I could possibly avoid it. So I've been running virtual teams now for probably 13, 14 years. One of the things that we did in the pandemic is, our stuff was all about helping people. So what we wanted to do with our multiplayer, our MMO, our sort of virtual collaboration tech was actually start to build something that businesses could use. So, a lot of businesses were devastated by the pandemic. So the influence that we had from the pandemic is we really doubled down in terms of our investment into our Metaverse technology, and we focused on trying to create systems that could bring people together in a virtual way, rather than just a Zoom call like this, where it's just us in 2D, but actually interactive experiences. And there's something very special about sitting on a hillside with somebody who's in another part of the world, watching the moon set over the hills, and the sense of connection that you get through those virtual experiences. So yeah, the thing we're taking forward is that investment and a bunch of the ideas that we developed during the pandemic.
Interesting you say that. One of the key tools that I use with my clients is a thing called a 3-year vivid vision. That came out of Brian Scudamore and Cameron Herold out of 1-800-GOT-JUNK in the US. But essentially what I do with my clients, one of the first things I do with the CEOs is get them to go and sit on a hill, on a mountain, next to the water, with a pad and pen, no technology, and spend the day, maybe with a bottle of wine, I recommend that highly, and spend the day writing down what do you want your business, what does your business and your life look like in 3 years' time? Mm-hmm. It's being water, mountains, etc. It's that calming effect that allows the brain to really, really, really think. Great idea. Okay. And is that something that's available to potential clients?
Yes. We have our first Metaverse customer. It's in private beta now. We're actively seeking more customers. We have a bunch of irons in the fire, and we're looking for them to turn from being a prospect into a customer. Right. And yeah, we're absolutely taking on Metaverse style projects.
Yeah, it's great because we all talk about Zoom fatigue. It's a great way of communicating, but at the same time, when teams are on it all day, every day, it can be very, very draining.
Yeah. Well, one of the interesting companies we're talking to, they have a 3D monitor, a 3D display, and there's a really interesting project that we're talking about with them, where we start to blend that virtual communication technology into the display technology itself, which would be quite transformational. Imagine that the hardware around you was part of the virtual world.
Wow. It's a bit mind-blowing. That's as I'm talking to you, I've got two 8-year-old children, and my son particularly desperate to drive a car. And, I've been saying to him that, I'm not sure that he'll ever drive a car, the way technology is changing. So I should turn my notifications off. We need to edit that bit out as well. So tell me, what does the future look like? And what do you see as the major challenges for you going forward?
So one of our challenges is growth. We have invested heavily into new tech. Now we have to find a way to connect those new ideas to new audiences. And we need to do that in a sustainable way. It's been quite interesting for us. We have some significant global VCs interested in what we want to do. And then the juggle is, how do you engage them without, losing your house, essentially giving up control of that vision that you have. So, yeah, that's been one of the challenges. Getting our message out there, so being better at marketing, that's another challenge. And that's something where I'm, doing some interesting things at the moment. And then I guess in the global climate, obviously there's a lot going on at the moment. So, making sure that what you're delivering is valuable regardless of the economic outlook, I think, is also another challenge.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, as you say, a lot of this all comes down to people, doesn't it, and getting the right people. What do you reckon has been your major learning since you've become a business owner?
Major learning. There are too many. I still have them every day. So some of the big learnings have been to believe in myself. We did build a digital agency and we sold it. And I invested a lot of that cash into other people's businesses. And that cash just disappeared as those businesses disappeared. Yep. Whereas I wish I had actually invested that into me, because my business is still going and still growing. And that capital for growth would be something that I wish I'd believed in myself more. Other things. Obviously people and culture, that is, I think, something that's hugely important in any business. When I bring new people into my team, I am very much watching how they integrate with the rest of my team. And even though somebody might have the skills, if they don't have the attitude and the desire to grow, then they're soon out of my team. And the ways in which that pays me back is that I have a extremely motivated, extremely loyal team, and we're growing, and that's attracting more people into the business as well. So people obviously is a big part of it. What else? Lots and lots of things. Even now, I spend time looking at what's happening out there and fusing and thinking about how can I take that idea and apply it to my business. So I'm learning all the time.
Fabulous. It's interesting. There's a couple of points in there. The people and culture and the values of your business is, absolutely one of arguably the most critical thing in getting scaling business. But your point about investing in other people's business. A lot of CEOs suffer from what they call the imposter syndrome. And if you haven't seen it, there's a fabulous TEDx talk with Mike Cannon-Brookes, the co-founder of Atlassian, where he talks about the imposter syndrome from his perspective. And it's about 18 minutes. It is one of the best watches. Highly recommend you go and have a look at it. When he talks about when he and Scott Farquhar were scaling, started Atlassian, and they were sharing a flat, and they were getting phone calls from America in the middle of the night, and you want accounts, and he'd shake Scott, and Scott's got to be, hello, the accounts payable. This whole imposter syndrome as you're growing company is really well worth the read. Yeah. And the other thing with Atlassian is the guys did a values exercise under the scaling up methodology, which I was certified in, and they credit getting the values right in 2005 as one of the key foundations to go from 50 staff to about 8,000 where they are now.
Yeah.
It's well worth having a look at. When you think about successful, who's the first person to come who comes to mind, and why?
Bill Gates is actually the first person that comes to mind. I had the opportunity to work with Microsoft a couple of years ago, and it was fascinating working within a top tech company and learning about how they do things. And then one of the things I really like about Bill Gates is the things he's done with the wealth that he's created and the way in which he's contributing back. And even his comments recently on crypto, I thought were awesome. So he's one of the people I would aspire to be a bit like, in that I would like to contribute more back to the world.
Great aspiration. Yeah. Once again, I'll refer back to Atlassian. One of the things they've got is a giving pledge. 1% of revenue, 1% of staff time, 1% of the leader's time is given back every year, and they actually track it, they monitor it, and they track the impact they have. It's a fabulous example of that. Now, you and I talked about this a bit earlier, but I'm going to ask you about the top 3 business books, podcasts, etc. you might that you'd recommend. But can you give me the answer you gave earlier?
Yeah. So, I think the difference between an entrepreneur and most people is we're not 9-to-5ers. We're actually constantly learning all the time. So I don't have any one book or blog. I actually read a lot all the time. I collect information and models off the internet, mental models and so on. And I look at how I can bring these back and fuse them into our business. So yeah, literally I'm learning all the time, and it could be anything from game theory to marketing automation. It's there's so much information out there, and my sense is that you should always be learning.
Yeah. And of course that's the reason for this series, 15-minute snippets, tap into successful growing founders and CEOs and managing directors. Any last piece of advice or parting words you'd like to give to your peers or people who aspire to be a peer?
All right. One of the interesting things, so when we built this digital agency, we were originally quite small, but we'd grown to about 7 or 8 people. And we went for an entire year where the founders just lived off our credit card. And, I was getting letters of demand from the bank and all this horrible stuff. But we believed in what we were doing, and we made sure our staff were okay as we went through this process. Then we brought another person into the business, and they helped us. They were just the click that made everything start to work. And then we grew that business to about 100 people and sold it just for the GFC. The interesting thing that the company that actually bought us gave a presentation, and one of the things he said that differentiates people like us from everybody else is that we never give up. And that's my advice, right? Take your feedback, use it as an opportunity to learn, but never give up. Because if you never give up, then success is inevitable. And so just never give up.
Great piece of advice to finish the interview. Thank you, Adam.
No worries. Cheers.